and welcome to Talking TSM, the Gamehouse's talk show about TSM's LCS team. I'm Robert Haynes, your host and your guide into the world of TSM's LCS team. And while I'm not licensed, this is therapy now. This is TSM therapy, my friends, because yeah, I mean, it has been just, I don't know. It's just been terrible. I mean, it's truly been awful. We are now officially 2-11, which means that outside of every other team basically just completely sucking, we are guaranteed out of the playoffs. Because 10 wins, 8-10 is normally like the lowest you could get, right? Like we would have had to beat EG yesterday and just, gone from there. This is another one, and maybe it just ends up being a therapy session for me, but I thought about this a lot yesterday after the game, and I thought about it when I woke up this morning to record this, and yeah, I mean this is what's going to happen. I am going to just talk to you guys again because right now, it's just frustrating, and to try to dissect these games, I just think is fruitless to a certain degree. Because there's just so many problems that we have to go over. And I think it extends beyond just the, basics of, this pick here maybe could have really done this. Or, this certain area could have done this. Or, blah, blah, blah. And, I mean, it's just... There's just so many things that are going wrong that it's hard to try and pretend like we can pin it down. Now, I'm not going to do this every single week. I mean, it's still going to be a therapy session as we continue to be the worst TSM team in our history. In LCS history, yeah, it's the worst TSM LCS team ever. And, I want to address a couple areas. But before that, I do want to say, there's still some people out there who are like, oh, Reggie needs to sell his house, and this is CLG and blah blah blah. I want to go back to. Let me see if I can find this. What was this? Let me see here. Let me make sure I can find this correctly. Where is their record? Maybe I gotta go to LCS. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. Alright, so 2020 season. Alright. Is this it? Oh, this is Academy. No, I don't want Academy. I want LCS, please. Thank you. All right. So, 2020 LCS spring split. Now, this team figured it out a little bit later on, and they had better pieces than us. But, for those of you who may have forgotten, at 7-11, Team Liquid had one of their worst splits ever and finished 9th. Okay? With only CLG finishing below them. And, that's probably going to be our new goal from here on out. But, teams that are really good have bad splits. And I mean teams as a whole. The difference with the Team Liquid team, I know all of you are gonna be like, Rob, like, come on, like the 2020, Team Liquid team, like they went to Worlds still and everything, and you're right, like they did. But the point I'm trying to make with this team is that they finished ninth. They had their worst split ever. Or not ever. Well, it might have been ever. I guess in terms of placement. I don't remember if TL really finished ninth before. They were always kind of just a middling team until Steve decided to get out the money guns. But, this team was bad. They'd win games here and there, but they were generally not considered to be very good. And they made some small changes, fixed some things, signed a new coach, and they ended up finishing 15-3 in the second half during the summer split to finish first, by the way, over a Cloud9 team that had gone 17-1 before that time. In the springtime. And CLG, so I'm doing two comparisons, the TL 2020 season, and then the whole thing with CLG is that they are perennially bad. I mean, here are their placements over the last, we'll do 2019. I'll even be nice to them. Okay? Spring 2019, tied for 7th, outside of playoffs, 7-11, when Echo Fox were still in the LCS. Then they go 12-6 to finish 3rd. Okay, this was the CLG team that knocked off Optic when we lost to CG, Cody Sun and CG. Ugh, that team, that Clutch Gaming team. Okay, so they go 7th, 3rd, 10th at 3-15, 9th at 5-13. 2021. 9th at 5-13. Then the summer, what did they end up finishing? Looks like they went, I can't really tell. Did they? Oh, yeah, we played so many more games. Okay, yeah. They finished 7-20 with a 12-35 record, I believe, something like that. Sorry. There's something I'm missing here, but whatever. Like in the summer, they went 7-20. Okay, to finish last, by the way. And even this year, they are currently 5-8. So they're having their best split in 3 years. Thanks to a young man named Luger, mostly, by the way. Want that to be pretty clear. I did not realize that CLG went 2-0 this weekend. Good for them. My point here, though, is that we're not CLG when you go back and you look at the fact that, yes, we are currently in 10th. That sucks. But we went 18-9 to finish first in the summer of last year. 12-6 to finish second in the spring. 12-6 to finish tied for third, but technically fourth in the summer of 2020. Oh, and won a championship then. 9-9, not great. Got were able to take down 100 Thieves 3-2, and then got knocked out by FlyQuest. And then 2019, fourth at 10-8, and third at 13-5. Okay, so our average placement during this same time period as CLG, right, is like second or third. Their average placement is ninth over a 3-year span. Okay? And sorry, I keep looking off screen. I got another screen there. But, there are bad teams. There are perennially bad teams that are just never good, right? And unless big changes come, then they continue to be bad. And what CLG's problem has always been is that they have made a lot of terrible decisions and moves to set themselves up to be bad. Okay? It's not like they are... It didn't feel like for a long time that they were trying. And while I am not a big defender of Reggie, and I've said this on another podcast, well, this podcast, but like a previous one, my defense of him only goes so far as in the fact that I don't think he will allow this to happen even next split. And we'll talk about this in a little bit because I do want to get to potential changes and stuff like that. But, he is right. This will not be a CLG team. He would probably sell everything he could. He would let go of other teams to allocate money to make sure that this team would be better. But I also think he trusts Dominic. So we'll have to see there. And then, with my comparison with Team Liquid, Spring Split doesn't matter. Like, let's be real, right? Spring Split does not matter. Like, unless if you are sure you're going to be a top 3 team and want to try for MSI, who cares? And yes, I know, if we were on the other side, right? If we were fighting for a top spot, I'd be sitting here breaking down everything and being like, okay, goal right now is let's get to MSI. Let's get some practice in, right, before Worlds. That would be my argument. And we haven't been to an MSI in since 2018? Maybe? Probably? Yeah? 2017, 2018? I mean, we haven't been to an MSI in years, guys. TSM has always used Spring Split basically as a warm-up, it would seem like. They got to figure out a way to make Spring Split matter. I still think last year's system was the best one. I preferred 3 games, but whatever. I hope they go back to best of 3s at a minimum. But, again, whatever. My point is that, this team is not going to stay bad, is my hope and my thought here. And we won't be like CLG. I would think we would trend more like Team Liquid, where some changes will be made and we'll have a better summer. That's that. Like, if we're erring on which side are we, right? Which level are we at? Right now, sure, we look like a CLG. That's fine. But CLG's bad every split. I mean, they're 3 games under 500 and they're celebrating still. If we were just 3 games under 500, I would still be probably having to host therapy sessions for everybody because I'd be like, hey guys, basically we have to go a minimum of 3-2 over our last 2 games because otherwise we're going to be out. And now it's probably looking like it's going to be more than that because Dignitas also won 2 games in a row and the 100 Thieves are on a 3-game winning streak. And Cloud9 look like the best team in NA, and them and TL, thanks to really good scouting, it would seem, are going to probably perform really, really well at Worlds, it would seem, at least, hopefully, the way that they're playing right now. And it's, I don't know, it's going back to the team itself. The frustrating part about this team right now to me is that we win a game, right? And everybody's hopes are back, like, okay, we're 2-9, right? We're probably not going to make playoffs. Fair. But let's see if we can do some things that move us forward. And my biggest issue is with this team right now. Like, my number one issue is they don't look like they're getting any better. Right? So, week 3, Shen Yi's out. We put in Yurson. We win a game. Oh, great. Okay, we won a game now. We won a Sunday game, by the way. Okay, both times. I believe. Almost certain. All right, we're looking better. Maybe Yurson is the answer. They go another week and Yurson looks pretty rough. Okay, so it was an 0-3 weekend. Wow. We're 1-8 now. It's pretty bad, guys. Like, you know. Okay, well, we're going to take Yurson out. We're going to put Shen Yi in. And we're going to move Takeover out for Kaiduo. First game goes, meh. Second game, oh, they won. They won a standard game. They won. They looked good. Oh, this is the TSM that could be, right? All right, we're going to give Takeover a chance. Kaido is lighting it up in Academy. Takeover was not, by the way. And this is not a take on Takeover, by the way. I'm just stating, you know, the timeline here. 0-2 weekend, where they threw a big lead. And then they go out and just look terrible. I don't know. They just tactical had a horrific weekend. And it's like, you know, every time they make a change, they find a way to win a game, which is great. But then the next week, they don't get better. You know, like Huni was like, oh, you know, I can see this team winning more. This could be our team for the rest of the split. Well, now it's not. Kaido better be back in there next week, by the way. And this is not really a take on Takeover necessarily. But they better figure out, because Kaido lit it up in those last games. And I believe that the Academy season, at least the regular season, is over for the spring. So Kaido better just play. You got 5 games left. You got 5 games left. Kaido better play. That's all I'm going to say here on that one. But my biggest issue right now has got to be coaching. I've racked my brain for weeks on this. And when it comes down to it, yes, Spica is at fault to a certain degree. He has not played well. He's clearly not been able to handle the pressure. And it's really sad to see. Tactical has made a plethora of mistakes that I think he would be bailed out for with a better team and would look better. And it's not that he is bad. I don't think he is. I just think he lives on a knife's edge type of player. And there are games where he is going to pop and carry you. And there are games that he's not. And the games that he doesn't, and he makes those mistakes, if he has a better team around him, they probably still win some of those games. But he doesn't have that as a cover-up right now. Shen Yi has looked better, but he's still in a different orbit than the rest of the team. He's closer to being in the same orbit. You know, but he's not there. The only consistent player on our team has been Huni. He's constantly getting a lead. They're not helping him at all. I mean, he's getting no resources. Understandably, and that's fine, but it's like he can only do so much. It's got to be so frustrating for him. Because, you know, whether it's mid lane or bot lane, there's always a problem. There's always a fire to be put out. It's really mostly the bot lane, to be honest. It's bot lane and jungle that are making more mistakes than pretty much anybody else. The mid laners don't really have a chance to do much. They kind of are just there most of the time. And then Huni's like constantly getting a lead. And like, I don't know. I feel so bad for him. It's just not ideal. But I come back to coaching. And I think what is going on? And I don't necessarily think Chawi's probably a bad coach. I just think that there's just so much pressure on this team right now, and there are just so many mistakes that are being made that it's hard to coach all of them out in such a short period of time. And I do think that if they had had that extra time to come together, if they wouldn't have been basically forced together with 2 weeks, well, really like a week and a half before the season started, I think a lot of these things would have been ironed out more quickly, right? Like even the players didn't have a chance to get to know each other, so that, allowed Shenyi to feel, however he's felt, during all of this. And it's just been a disaster. And I'm sure that, the coaching staff is trying to play catch up. This whole time, like Kay's having to come in was obviously not part of the plan. And I haven't seen Peter Zhang. They said Peter Zhang was part of the top team. I think he's just been coaching Academy. I haven't seen him on any TSM Legends. Not once. I thought he was going to be part of this solution. I'm sure he is on the back end, but it's like, what's he at? Where's he at? What's he doing? I don't know. It comes back to coaching for me to a certain degree. And it's not, and the thing is it's like, well, who's to blame, Rob? If it's not their fault and it's not the player's fault, then who's to blame? I think it's all to blame. I don't think there's one singular group or person that is to blame. But the coaching staff, to a certain degree, like, they're not showing progress. And the sad part is if you're not showing progress, then that means that the coaches aren't getting it done. I mean, they look kind of better. They look like a less, big, major disaster than they had been. But that's still not enough. It just doesn't get it done. And like you could blame coaching, right, for really bad drafts or something like that. The draft they played this weekend I thought was fine. I don't think it was great, but like there weren't any major problems necessarily. It means that they're not translating what they're working on in practice to what is happening in the game. And the mental of these players is clearly not there. And while, yes, again, that comes back to the players to a certain degree, that also comes to coaching. You have to have, like Bjergsen last year spent a lot of time sitting down and working with the players' mentals and describing situations to them that would help them find success and would help them to deal with the pressures of not finding success. And they went from being a pretty good team, like a third, fourth place team to finishing first in the regular season. That team last year, in my opinion, was not necessarily that much more talented than this team. You still had Huni and Spica, same players. Obviously, Power of Evil is at least more stable. I don't know that he is that much more talented currently, at least. He's good, do not get me wrong. He's more refined because I think Takeover and Kaiduo are just young and inexperienced. But I don't think he's necessarily that much more talented than them. I still think Tactical is a better player than Lost. I don't think we used Lost correctly last year. Obviously, he's been great for Golden Guardians. And yes, Sword Art is a literal world champion finalist. He's better than Shenyi. That's the one area I can say for sure. But Shenyi's still very talented. It's just got to be coaching at this point. I mean, these players just are not learning, and they're either not respecting their coaches and what is being told to them, or they are not putting out what they are practicing. And it doesn't necessarily, again, it doesn't mean that Chawi's a bad coach or that Kaze is a bad assistant coach now. I'm sure they are probably good with the X's and the O's of the game, right? With the actual strategic and micro and macro understandings. And you can be great at that stuff. But the other part of being a good head coach is the charisma, is the buy-in from these players and the confidence that they can trust you no matter what. And that they believe in what they are practicing and they understand how to translate that to the actual game situations. Like, I'll give an example, okay? I coach baseball. I've told you guys this, for a high school team. And I am a, assistant pitching coach, essentially. Now, years ago, I was offered a spot as the head JV coach. I turned it down, mostly because I didn't feel like I had time. And while I think I'd be a pretty good head coach, if I had time to commit to it and everything, I realized a couple, maybe a year or two ago, that I'm really glad I didn't take it because, I don't know that I have that innate ability to be a head coach and to translate practice stuff into game stuff. I'm much more of a game time coach than I am a great practice coach. I'm good at practicing, but I'm not great. The two head coaches currently for JV and for varsity, and last year's JV coach as well, who's now helping out with the varsity team, they are really, really good at translating and getting these players to buy in and believe in their mindset, their plans, and just their general strategy of the game. Now, you guys might be like, well, you're talking about a high school baseball team. What do you mean? How do you compare that to the LCS team? What I'm saying is there are just people who are able to translate certain areas better than others. And there are situations where they're very strong compared to others, right? These baseball coaches that I coach with are really excellent at translating these things in a high school level situation. Now, I'm not saying they couldn't coach college or beyond that if they wanted to. I'm sure they definitely could and could find success. But what I know right now is that at a high school level, we always have a good baseball team because these coaches know what they're doing and they get it. They get it at the level that they are at. Chawi has taken teams at other lower levels than the LCS to greater heights. And I actually think that in years past, this team and Chawi would, have a little bit more leniency because of the fact that the rest of the LCS sucked. It sucked terribly, really badly. But it doesn't anymore. All the teams are leveling up. All of them. And I do really mean all of them. We would probably be a middle of the road team. We would probably barely miss playoffs still, I think. But at least we'd have some more wins. This LCS squad, not anymore. This Cloud9 team is really good. This Team Liquid team is really good. 100 Thieves are shaky, but still solid. Dignitas, probably overrated, but have some really good pieces, and I'll be intrigued to see what they do during the break between spring and summer. FlyQuest, same thing. A lot of good young talent to build around. Evil Geniuses, same thing. A lot of great young talent to build around. CLG, at least a solid bot lane. Maybe an okay mid laner. Probably need to replace top and jungle, though. Golden Guardians. They're not executing as well as they could. I think they'll get there, though. That team, I think, is a lot better than their record shows. Immortals are the one team where I'm like, I don't know. I still don't really. I love that they brought up Arrow, and I think that's great, but like Arrow's maybe just a little bit better than Wild Turtle, at least from what I've seen. I'll have to rewatch the games. And then you have us. I'll round out my point here with the coaching staff. They are not getting it done. And whether that's their fault or the player's fault, it's just not translating from practice. Kay's put it out there. You looked great in practice. We'll figure it out. Well, you have 5 games to figure it out, in my mind. You have 5 games to figure out whether or not you either blow this whole thing up or you just stick it out and hope for the best. Let me know in the comment section real quickly. What record would make you say, "Hey, let's keep these guys together"? Do they have to go 5-0 for the rest of the split? Could they win the majority of their last 5 games? Could they go 3-2, play some spoiler? Would that be enough? Would even 2-3 be enough for you to say, "Hey, let's keep most of these guys together"? What do you think? Let me know. For me right now, I think regardless of what happens, changes need to be made. And it sucks because I am somebody who loves teams being built up from the ground up. Personally, I think that is the best way to go. Because I think if you can build a core together and they learn to lose together, they learn to win together at a young age, then they can take the necessary steps to get better together as well. And when the winning comes, it's going to be all that much more satisfying as well. Now, there are others who don't like that. There are others who are like, we'll just buy talent and win. Listen, I mean, TL's doing it, but at the same time, C9's doing exactly what I was hoping that we would look like. And that was the thing at the beginning of the year, by the way. It was either C9 would implode and would be terrible, or we would implode and be terrible. And unfortunately, we were the ones that, when the coin hit, it showed TSM instead of C9. Because my lordy, that team is very good right now. But yeah, I think changes have to be made. And if I were Dominic, I would probably let Chawi go. Now that the English portion is not as much of a problem, if the team were to look better during these next 5 games, I could be convinced to keep all of them. I could be convinced. In reality, what I would probably do is, unfortunately, I would probably let Kaidua walk, or I'd probably just send him down to Academy for the summer. And I'd probably either let Shinyi get out of his contract, or I'd keep him on the LCS roster and sign a new mid laner, an impact one. And it's not that Kaido's bad by any stretch. I just don't think this is the right situation for him. I think there's just too much stress. I mean, when you go down to Academy and, I don't know, let's look at his Academy stats really quickly here. All right. So his Academy stats, since being pulled down there, are 5-1-5 Um, on the wow, why is it not showing me this? All right, give me just 2 seconds. I'm gonna bring these up. Oh wait, better idea, better website to go to here. I won't say what one that is because I don't want to offend anybody. All right, where are we at? Here we go. All right, here are his stats at Academy. 38, 16, and 36. A 4.6 KDA. Nearly 61% kill participation. The kill share for his team is 31%. It's very high. He is getting first blood in a third of the games. He's only accounting for 14% of their deaths, which is very low. And his goal difference, his XP difference, his CS difference, his CS... Wow. So his goal difference, XP difference, and, his CS per minute difference are all extremely positive. Like 180 gold, almost 200 gold up at 10 minutes. He's averaging 10 CS per minute. That would be the best. Yeah, it would technically be the best in Academy. His goal difference would technically be the best. His XP difference would definitely be high, but not the best. Harry and Ryoma have higher. And his CS per minute would be third-ish best. He is also putting out the highest damage per game since he has been down there. His damage percentage for the team is nearly 30%. I mean, every stat tells you that Kaiduo is definitely better than Academy players. And if he comes back with this renewed confidence, and they actually, find a plan to utilize him. And this is real quick, this is my other problem with the coaching staff right now so far is I don't feel like we've had plans going into these games. Things that we have executed. I feel like we're very good at level 1s and early level, up to level 3s. Our first 5 to 8 minutes are great, and then we just suck afterwards because we don't know what to do sometimes. But anyways, good God, he even has almost 27% of the team's gold. I think at a minimum they got to keep him in Academy for the summer. I just think he's too good. And I think if Shenyi's just not happy here, then let him walk. I'm so tempted. It's so frustrating because I'm so tempted because I can see the potential of this team. Hooney has looked great. Spica can definitely be better with less stress and more and better stuff around him. Kaiduo, I think, is on the cusp of LCS level, if not already there, just hasn't been able to totally figure it out yet. Tactical is very good. He looks really bad because the few bad moments that he has can't be covered up because the rest of the team is so bad right now. He is that coin flip player to a certain degree. And it's come up tails more often than heads. But that's also communication problems and clearly just people being on the different pages. And Shenyi looks good at times too. He has potential to be great. He clearly wants to be great. They're working hard. It's just, it's not coming together. And again, that's where I come back to coaching, guys. I really do. If English is not going to be a problem right now, dude, go out and hire Jat. He did it for TL. He helped turn them around. Why couldn't he do the same thing for TSM? If I'm TSM, I'm looking for a new head coach. That's what it comes down to. Somebody's got to take the brunt of the blame. You already have these players signed. maybe even this is what you could do. Here's what you could do. I think you move Chawi to assistant coach, and I think you bring in somebody like Jat. There you go. If English is not as much of a problem anymore, I think Chawi would be a great assistant coach. I think he'd even consider taking the job. It's a lot less stress and would still allow him to work with these players. There's my solution. We just talked 40 minutes and figured it out. That's my solution right there. That's the best I can offer. I think you run it back. I think you get a new coach. One that I think is a little bit better at strategically handling things. One that isn't having their own culture shock of having to move to the U.S. And one that I think would probably take the job. I think Jat liked coaching. I just don't think it worked out. I think he had a lot of big egos and stuff to work with. I think he'd really only have 1.5 egos. Well, 2 combined. I think Shinyi, Tactical, and then Spica. And ego doesn't mean bad thing. Ego always seems to mean a bad thing. No, they're just confident players who believe in themselves. It can be sometimes detrimental to a team. But I don't think that's always the case. Huni's clearly a person who plays for the team. I think Kaido probably is too. I don't think Kaido has known anything differently. I think his whole career he's had to play for the team. I know he says differently, but like I watched some of those games. I looked at his stats. Yeah, he was maybe playing for Lane differently, but like his picks and stuff were what the team needed, not necessarily what he should have been playing at all times. That's my solution. All right, I've walked through this with you guys now. I did not have that solution in mind beforehand. That's my solution. Get TSM Jad in here and just give it a try. Worst comes to worst, you blow it all up after the summer. Failed experiment, you can do it then. I mean, this team has played a total of 4 games together, by the way, as the 5 that were originally intended to play together. I just want to point that out, by the way, because your son played 5 games, and now Takeover's played 4. Out of the 13 games so far this split, the original intended 5 have played together 4 times. They need to play these last 5 games together. They have to. Dominic, I don't know if you watched this. You probably don't. I don't know if somebody on your staff does. I doubt it. But if anybody out there is listening, my recommendation is everybody plays this weekend. Because you don't have anything to lose now. Nothing. You're not going to make playoffs. So at this point, you better just figure out what you can do with everybody. Takeover ain't it right now. It's just a fact. He wasn't bad. But Kaido is supposed to be your future, not Takeover. So you might as well put Kaido in. See what he's got. Because he is also, like, Takeover looked okay-ish at times with TSM Academy. I mean, Kaido, like, straight up carried 3 games. He was good. Give him a chance. Also, by the way, his counter pick rate was almost 60%, so I would love to see that as well. Said this BS just picked frickin' Victor at, B3 or R3 before they pick theirs. Ridiculous. That's my change. What do you guys think of that plan? Also, let me know that. What do you guys think? Does that plan work for you? Is that enough? Are you willing to potentially sacrifice one more split to see if these young guys can figure it out? I am. I'll commit to it now for right now. I'll probably change my mind if they look terrible, but it's really going to depend on the last 5 games for me. There's a lot of conversation of people like, oh, you should, pick up Jensen. I will say Jensen apparently has been talking to teams. No surprises. But I will tell you that one of my sources has said that TSM are not one of them. Do with that what you will, my friends. I don't really know what to make of that, to be honest with you. Like, at all. I would be surprised. Why wouldn't you at least talk to him? Maybe it's just what they're feeling right now. I don't know. And Ignar is still out there, I guess. Like, I don't know where he's currently living. I don't know if he's still in LA or not. I haven't checked, but I mean, listen, you could try the summer with, Huni, Spica, Jensen, Tactical, and Ignar, and I do think that would be a really good team. And I mean, I guess the last factor is if they're really sure that Spica is going to leave next year anyways, I would say you just grab those 5 players, and I think you just put Shinyi and Kaiduo in academy. Which would suck for Yursan and Takeover. I would be sad for them, but I would put the 2 of them down in academy, and I'd say, hey, here's the deal. Spica's leaving next year anyways. We're going to try to run it back with Spica one more time. Although I don't know if Spica's going to leave at this point. We'll have to see. But if Spica's leaving, then I think you pay Jensen, and I think you pay Ignar, and I think you say, let's try for it. And if they don't make Worlds, which I think that team probably could, even with how good the LCS is, I think that there's a chance that they could make Worlds. Then you try to run it back another year or something, I guess. Or worst comes to worst, they don't work out, and you just blow it all up. You go out, you get Will or Kenvi in the jungle. You go out and you get Bradley in top lane. And, I don't know, get Chime in the bot lane. Something like that. I think you run a really young team of Bradley, Will, Kaiduo. Oh, wait, no, not Chime, sorry. I don't know. Wixie, Array, Kaori. Although I don't think you could use Kaori, so never mind. I don't know. You figure out. You just go super young. Like, everybody young. Like, everybody rookie. Basically. I don't know. There's a lot of ways you could go right now with this team. Oh, dude, that's such a tough decision. I do not envy Dominic at all with this decision, because he is the one who's going to end up making it, from what it seems like. God, I don't know. These next 5 games are going to be very important when it comes to the future of this team. And they are. And we still have to play C9 and TL, by the way. And 100 Thieves. And CLG. And who's the other team we haven't played yet? And Immortals. If we could beat Immortals and CLG, that'd be cool. And if we could surprise one of the top 3 teams, I'd say, yeah, I could live with going one more year or one more split of the 5 of them. I just hope that Kaiduo comes back with like a renewed and confidence, because he feels like a player that needs confidence to play well. I would love to see that. I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. This is, I'm sorry I didn't talk as much. This felt like more like an off-season episode, but, again, like I said, I think it was, last week, 2 weeks ago now? There's so much that we don't need to dissect from these games, because it's not like, again, I don't think Takeover is even going to be playing for this team next week anyways. So, I guess here's my quick analysis. We threw a Baron when we didn't need to. The bot lane was constantly in a bad position and put the rest of the team behind because of Danny, which I had freaking said. I said they need to just babysit and counter gank for the bot lane. They did at the beginning. It was great. I was like, oh, look, they listened. Like, Spica's there for the counter gank. This is great. This is working. And then they just stopped. And they just let Inspired and Danny kind of take over the game. There's your analysis for that one. And for the game before, I mean, it just, like, Dignitas just got lucky. TSM threw that game. Can add that into the through the game pile of games this like split, at least 3 or 4 of them. I mean, hell, we'd probably be. I think if we don't throw, I think if we even throw half of those games, we're probably sitting at half instead of all of them. We're probably sitting at 5-8. Just saying. Oh God. Oh God, this team is so frustrating. Man. Cloud9 got lucky. I wonder if they're going to be able to keep everybody. I think they will. I think if they win a championship or if they go to Worlds and they perform well, I think they'll probably just keep that whole team, then run it back. I mean, Winsome has been a huge surprise for me, honestly. He was the one I was like, dude, I don't know about that. And I thought Summit was good, but I looked at his stats. I was like, I don't know. He's just kind of your typical weak side player. I was so wrong. I was so unbelievably wrong on Summit, by the way. Picked him up on my fantasy team to at least, see if that would be worth it. Really glad I did on that. God. All right. Yeah, guys. I mean, we'll be back Thursday. We will break down. Who do we got this week? We will break down Cloud9 and Immortals. Cloud9 and Immortals. Oh boy. Looks like the best chance we're gonna probably have is another Sunday walk-off win. We'll see. We will see. If you like this show, please take a second to like, subscribe, and comment if you're watching on our YouTube channel. Hit that bell icon so you don't miss another episode. Let's continue to make this the #1 TSM podcast out there for the LCS fans. Thank you for all your support. Seriously, it means so much. So much. I'm glad. I hope that you guys enjoy these ranting episodes even. You can hit me up on Twitter at TGHRobertHaynes. You can also follow the Gamehouse at TGH Esports. Lastly, head to the Gamehouse. There's going to be a lot of really good content coming out here, especially for NFL free agency, MLB free agency, all that jazz. A lot of good stuff. A little slower on the esports side with Riot taking the whole month off, but, there'll be some stuff, probably. If TSM signs Jensen, you can find it there. With that, thanks for tuning in. The show comes out every Monday and Thursday, and it's still exclusively for your TSM earholes. I'm Robert Haynes, and this has been Talking TSM. I'll see you all on Thursday.